7:30 a.m. I've pulled the blinds. I'm waiting for the sun to rise and make his claim to the sky. I know I'll be waiting for a while, but that's okay. He's worth the wait. Although the light is here, it would seem that Father Sun has not yet risen to lift the spirits of the land and the trees. Mother Moon has played her part in the earthly tapestry. Her shapely waxen crescent is now faded, although her evanescence and energy still lingers, and many feel it through the day. For now it is time for her to join in sacred matrimony with her counterpart, managing to get some moments before it is his time to shine his light over the mountains and lakes. Proudly, he starts to step up to the stage, and she can now rest. I see many things in nature as a mirror to our own lives, including messages from and for the collective that wait in anticipation for the dawning of the new age. So I wonder, is this a notion and a message to finally confirm the divine feminine can exit stage left? Her aura glowing so bright that to her counterpart it's like a moth to the flame. A flame that he knows the moment he chooses to stare deep into the core, it will ignite something so internal in his heart, even if she has let go and decided to burn bright regardless of his decisions. She knows that there will always be an ember that burns for the love they share, an ember that allows him to follow her light and for him in return to provide a safe space for it to shine. Dare they allow that chance once again for the flame to warm and ready their thrones? Is he ready to don his armor of God and awaken the spirits of the land, the souls of the medicine of the trees that will allow him the next level connection to his heart? Can he present to the world like a proud peacock that holds a leading light, not being shy to be seen for who he truly is, a warrior king, a vulnerable lover, a true alpha of the divine, and yes, at times a complete fallen angel, with shadows so dark he too didn't know how he would breathe again, knowing that the audience, eagerly watching his every move, was suffocating him and waiting for him to fail so that they could pounce and siphon his light body energy. Could he finally mute the noises of the audience's voices that dared to challenge his move towards his love? And would he care that this one move could inspire others to do the same? Not only to be seen, but to stand up for what he knows is true in his angelic desires. Does he look himself in the mirror as a pillar of protection, holding Excalibur, announcing the Order of the Blue Rose, the sword being firmly planted into the roots of Yggdrasil, invoking the knowledge and the voice of his ancestors? God's voice surrounds them, echoing the fundamental reasons to have gratitude for all actors in the scripts that we wrote together, award-winning playwrights of the Trinity, and that even the critics that have kept us in fear and denial are too walking their own stage. Can it be that both lovers have finally given into their hearts' wants and messages? After all, life's an illusion, right? So what is the harm in trusting that this could finally be what it's all leading up to? The pain seems real, like a dagger running across the flesh of the ring finger, quickly, efficiently, and will definitely leave a scar on the skin and the vein that runs to the heart, that will trigger memories with a mix of emotions. Hearts beat quicker when prayers are answered, and the activations have been constant since the day they met. They pray for each other every night, the happiness and love, every opportunity they get. This brings immense courage for their journeys ahead. The question is, does his divine goddess and holy grail dare to walk back towards him? Does she reach out and touch without fear? Is it her imagine? Will he fade like a familiar ghost of dimensions past from her visions and meditation? It's time to be brave. Stay a while just to see what happens. Holding space for the one who promises to protect her is the word of God, and with the shell held close to her ear, the communication is clear within her own intuition. Yes, trusting this is the right move. Yes, it is true. Many have called her crazy and said that she deserves better, and at times she too has questioned whether this has all been made up in her head. She's continued on her life since they last saw each other and tried to fit the other pieces to the puzzle, but without changing things, they just don't fit. It's a no to another project, another chapter of forcing hope through her mind that this is it. Yes, if I just ignore this and that will work. No, it never does. And those puzzle pieces, they will eventually fade to nothingness as if they didn't exist. That's what God does. That's what he does. He removes all those things that no longer serve. All those things that try and intervene in what is right within the divine plan. You see, no matter what templates have been created, that ghost with unfinished business is always there to haunt you. There is a vision every time her mind wanders of traveling with her best friend where they explore other cultures, learn from the wisdom of tribal elders, and swim naked in the lakes at sunset. And after they have had their time to heal the grids of earth from the love they hold, they will present to the world a family that will light up any room when they walk in and continue the grid work. This is a vision that always makes her fall to her knees and thank God for what she knows exists. This is her highest timeline. It would be a cruel trick to send such happy images if they were not part of her abundance. That is not the game God plays. Watching quietly from the sidelines, seeing her masculine standing center stage. Whilst they're not in the same room, it doesn't stop the magnetism of their souls finding each other, the feeling of his energy claiming her, joining together, the pulse of lightning running through her body brings her breath to stop for a second. It's decision time. Does this channel get opened again? It is one thing to accept that he is there and allow this vision to become clearer, but unblocking this direct lane, that can lead to more. Once bitten and twice shy, but this would be thrice. What is she thinking? Nothing. That is the problem. There's nothing to think about, for it is known that it is destiny, so rather than fight the apprehension, it is converted to spur her on to face any fear of rejection and abandonment. This is no longer in her playbook as an actual fear, for while they have been apart, facing fear has become something she now knows to resemble an art. Because it was either that or shut down her heart, and the latter is just not allowing her to be authentically her and to shine. For there is no way her heart would be shut down to love. So what? Is this another fall in love? Is this the result? Does he become a subject of a dusty poetry book or a bluesy love song? No fear, because there has been huge lessons in understanding love, and if she is ready to walk in the footsteps of Father and the Mother Divine, she knows that this love in particular is a series of cyclical movements, some lasting longer than others depending on their vibrational match. A perfect tango of cultures and upbringings emerging from healing childhood wounding and the traumas that neither one wanted to face, but eventually they screamed so loud in the mirror they had to. Of course, with others there has been talk of love, but not like this. Not with someone who has the skeleton key to the locket that hangs on her heart. It doesn't matter how many times that lock gets changed. He holds the master. This is a love that explodes your chakras to the very dimension that is the truth of the cosmos. A perfect date of floating amongst the Milky Way and toasting marshmallows on the sun flares whilst you sit on the rings of Saturn watching Jupiter's tornadoes form. The last time she loved anything like this was a few hours ago, when she stood in front of the mirror in the finest clothing that God could bring her, naked as the day her body entered this world. No longer does she point out parts of her body that she would change and judge herself for having too much sugar or salt based on the cellulite on her thighs and the rounding of her tummy. No, she is unapologetically proud of who she has become. For all the layers that she has shed and the walls that have been torn down, there is nothing but love for what she sees, and this will remain being a focus no matter who comes in and out of her life. A vow is now to peace, happiness, and strengthening her connection to Source, and being in trust that life will just keep getting more and more magical and aligned. Obviously allowing the regular check-ins on being honest that her life is running with full integrity. For every chapter that finishes, any lessons that are learnt, the love that she has becomes deeper, whilst allowing the purest feminine energy and aura to glow with grace. Rattle, rattle, is that the sound of pills? She whispers. 2 seconds later, a vision of a previous life springs to fruition. There she was, asleep on the couch. The fire had died to glowing embers. The TV was on loud, and there was an empty bottle of wine on the table next to a packet of painkillers. Was this me? Dare I remember that this was me? So alone and lifeless and not caring anymore? She was alone. Even though she had a husband and there was always people coming and going from the house, she had never felt more alone. Those painkillers. I didn't need them, but I couldn't stop taking them. I remember I'd take them without hesitation. No thought to what I was doing to myself. I just wanted out of the life that was going on around me. Within 20 minutes, I was in this space of this peace. It was like the chaos around me existed still, but I'd managed to put everything in slow motion and click mute. I wanted to stop taking them. I knew what they were doing to me. I was so scared of going back to a life that I realize now I created for myself, a version of hell that I was living. I couldn't see the beauty in life anymore. Look at my skin. So inflamed, and the weight that I gained, that takeaway diet. This is the hardest thing for me to see. There was no energy to cook, and that was my language of love. The amount of wine that I was consuming, how could anyone have loved me? I didn't love myself. She reaches out and holds herself in the other timeline, moving the hair from her face, and whispers, "That scar, my love, under your plaster, that scar on your wrist, will forever remind you of this period in your life where you pushed yourself so hard to be at everyone else's beck and call and couldn't find the time for yourself. You will wake up from this intoxication soon in more ways than one, and will learn to love that scar and who you were in all of this. Every time you asked for a repeat prescription for your escapism was just a sign from how far you had come off the rails from your divine self. Don't worry, you'll find your compass again. You will forgive yourself in these moments. I don't even want to call them a weakness, because you are one of the strongest people I know. I promise things will get better for you and for us, but these moments in this part of your life are so important and transformative. One day you will look at this scar. You'll tell the kids that you meet that you are a bionic woman and pretend to be a robot from the future just to make them laugh. And you will look at it. You will hold it, touch it, and know that you will never go back there again, because you have learned to listen to God and trusting in your soul guidance. For you realize that you are one of a strand of three. As the vision disappeared, an energy lingered over her skin. It had been so long since that time had been recalled. She hadn't seen that timeline in many, many months, but as always knew that this was being shown for a reason. Taking a few moments, there was a sudden thought. Could this have had something to do with the man that stands before her? Could he too have had these addictions? Something that gave him so much peace and escapism from real life? From those things that basically make you feel like you're a hamster in a wheel. You're crying so loud, but no one seems to hear you, and if they do, they don't seem to care. Could he be healing from the same, despite looking like he was holding it all together? Are our shadows linked? Goosebumps filled her body as if he was touching her, their souls resonating, confirming that this was the case, that in this vision, it was time to also see him for who he was in every way, desperate for a way out, for he is me and I am him. Just because we had different words in our chapter, different characters, it's become very clear that the journeys were interlinked. Throughout this process, if there was something that was shown to her, then there could have been days, hours, weeks, months, whatever it took to go in and see that side of her life that had become a shadow. Once it had been eyeballed, addressed, the trauma plug had been pulled, and therefore had lost all power over her. She wondered, was this helping him too? For there was so much strength in seeing the darkest parts of you and accepting them. The mindless sex, the cheating on people you so-called loved, the drugs, prescription or not, and the alcohol, and team this with the anger, a rage that's boiling inside of you so loud you don't know what to do. So you desperately try and numb it out. Being on antidepressants, yes, it's a quick fix and it'll do for now, as long as it all looks fine. You can put this front on, no one will know what's real. And then when the bathroom door is shut, no one will see the tears that pour like Niagara Falls. And even if the walls are thin, water can absorb the sound of tears, so it's the safest place to cry. Her heart is exploding right now, beating in double time, resembling even more love for him. Having this realization, he's had to be so strong for everyone. But what is it now? What are the results of God's spotlight beaming down on him, his beautiful divine soul demanding to be integrated back in? Has it finally forced him to break and see a new truth, a potential of what life could be like if he just looked after his heart for a change? Another image fills her mind. It's Atlas with an Achilles heel. Finally, the pressure of the globe causes his knees to buckle. The globe rolls off his shoulders. He tries to go after it, but the pain in his heel means he can't do anything but watch the chaos unfold. She shakes her head, shuddering at the thought of how much would be involved in him choosing to walk away. What would it mean for him? How much would he have to leave? His whole version of a life. Friends, probably some family, everything. Divine timing, that's why they met. His soul was crying for help. So was hers. How long that they had been trying to free themselves? Can it be that they're so desperate to escape from their world? There was no ghosting. Well, maybe, yes, in today's standards. But maybe, she thinks, it was an act of love. He didn't push her away because he didn't love her. That much was true. But could it be that he loved her so much that he knew that she too would get absorbed into this living hell that he was trying to navigate and break free from? And yes, she could definitely admit now, his world, despite at the time saying she accepted it, she realizes it was never supposed to be something she accepted, and by saying that she did was just a reflex of desperation to be loved and included. For his world, there is no way happiness would have been her final result. I see now what you did to protect me. For God's angels should only swim in these waters when they are strong enough to know boundaries and what is right for them, and at the time I definitely didn't. You knew how to protect my heart. Of course you did, because it is also yours. She reaches out, directing the words to him. Many people take advantage of givers, God's army, but in this time, since being away from him and learning the results of other timelines, there is an undeniable progression of trusting her intuition of safe versus not. This lesson, well, this has come with an ingrained understanding of the forgiveness is the key for all shadow self and for others. Judgment detox is necessary to see souls for who they are and realizing that so many people are wounded children desperate to be loved, held, heard, and validated. She has learnt that whilst inspired action to feel compassion and understanding for all those who cross her path, along with knowing she has the choice to see them with new eyes, there is an imperative learning of saying, I love you, I see you, and I definitely am grateful for who you are and where you're at. But that doesn't mean I have to keep you in my life. For now I choose to bring my energy back to me and focus on what is aligned. Wow, I feel like a student of Hermes, she smiles to herself, remembering back 2 years ago when those words flew from her mouth. Okay, God, I'm all in. Show me what I've agreed to learn in this lifetime. That commitment she brought to this journey has helped her recognize what it is to be an alchemist of one's life. Sure, it's great to know the ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets and know what was missed out of the Holy Book. There is a sense of something that you can become very proud of, knowing that you have uncovered a lot of these secrets without knowing the ancient texts of the secrets of the universe, and that once you recognize the pain in you, you can see it everywhere. And if you have the gift of clairaudio, you also hear it. After a while of tuning in, it was clear the voices of others' pain around the earth, and also Mother Earth's herself. You connect the dots and discover that most are feeling our Divine Mother God within themselves, the feminine energy, but not allowing their minds or heart to be one with the essence of that energy due to the separation that has been formed over many, many years. Becoming more in tune with the ancient wisdom, keepers of the land, and lessons in how mirrors are so important to hold up in front of our face for our own healing, but also helping others see what a powerful tool it can be to restore balance. Understanding also that not everyone is ready to look in that mirror, and that's okay. And finally, there was a rediscovery of her old methods of therapy, i.e. speaking with her friends that sparkle in the dark canvas of the night and respond to her, shooting across the sky. The friends that always surrounded her with that frequency of remembrance and truth. There was always going to be difficulty fitting into the earth, but somehow the night sky just felt like home. Night after night, her secrets would be revealed to the moon, and like a good mother, she would listen, without judgment, just allowing another layer to be transmuted to a veil that was always existing depending on how much attention it was brought. One night, she stood up with an epiphany. The moon doesn't need validation. The moon doesn't need permission to change or shine. The moon is just who she is. I am her and she is me. She can and will tear ships from their voyage, catapulting them into the darkest parts of the ocean if the captain's ego is too high and they dare not to listen to the warnings. She creates tides and waves so powerful that they can destroy people and separate lands and communities, and with one command, she can activate the volcanoes to show the world real anger towards how we treat each other, and in turn, God. No hesitation, just like a mother protecting her own. Saying this out loud towards her very muse, the moon did expand. Intense platinum rays were shared with her eager student as they boosted codes, imparted wisdom, and created prisms of light into her pupils. In this lifetime, I choose to be your initiate, guided by you. Now I see my power. I know now that I can both destroy and guide, and it is my choice how I handle this light. Staring at the sky, tears streaming down her skin onto her lips, allowing herself to taste the salty realization of what it is now to know how she had been the destroyer of peace in both her life and other people's, and not in a good way. It is now time to make a decision to never use those powers again, and to handle conflict with truth and grace. It is true that she prefers to be by a lake with the moon, for that is peace, whereas she can also sit by the tide of a very strong ocean, particularly when the moon is at her fullest. It is possible to learn to be around that chaos, but choosing peace in this lifetime and any others, for now, seems like the divine way. Wiping her tears, finally accepting her light and responsibility to hold it to her own shadows of the darkest moments of her life. My child, Mother Moon says, it is time for you to learn, accept, and harness the powers that you have asked for. Embrace your darkest feminine energy and bring it forward to heal the world. Turn your story of pain into purpose. Whilst I may turn over the waves that would scare even the most daring of captains, you be the light from the lighthouse that guides them home, remembering to accept that they made their choice to leave the harbor despite knowing that I could cause them problems. You see, everybody has a choice. Suddenly, there were sounds of falling tears, bringing her back to focus on the stage. Was he crying? Was he finally releasing everything that he'd been holding on to for years? The tears, the grief that he was desperately trying hard not to bring to the table when they first met, despite the fact she knew that they were ready to fire like a cap from a starter's pistol. Holding space meant to allow him to grieve, allow him to find his space within his heart, his safe space, so that he could give himself permission to grieve his losses and see his soul's exhaustion. For it is not just the tears he has been ignoring, it is a truth that has been buried in a box with a ton of earth, but like all things planted in the ground, eventually it will grow towards the light. It will sprout new life and germinate into something bigger and bigger until its roots are so big that you're constantly being tripped up, ignoring something that you're burying, keeping yourself busy so you don't have time to find the spade to even dig it up. If you wanted to, well, it never works. One day you will try and leave the house or do something and your soul will say enough and force you to go and find that spade. It's called Pandora's box for a reason, and maybe that is why the unknown scares people. Maybe that is why there's never enough time. Desperate to show people that you are together on the surface, there is no hesitation that this will be a big job, for you know the truth. The thought of facing your emotions and doing any work on yourself has become overwhelming, and when you've tried, when you've been brave enough to dig that spade into the ground, then what? The phone rings, and something's happened at work or with one of your friends and family? How convenient. Yes, that is more important, you say to yourself. I'll put a pin in this and get back. I will, I promise. Maybe this is something that can be a strength and a weakness. Yes, I'll get to it. Well, regardless of whether it's a strength or a weakness in your eyes, if you don't get to it, it will get to you. Do you ever want to live in the present moment but then ignore that random flutter of pain that comes, or tears to your eyes because you have seen or heard or remembered something that stirs you inside? Isn't that the ultimate of being present in the moment, dealing with it right then and there? Surely by now he has realized that band-aid solutions like pills, cold showers, and addiction to work will only get you so far, because eventually God will make you listen. Try as you might to build anything, it will be so hard because it is meant to make you face your truth and fact. When you refuse to listen, you will have everything start to be removed or made to feel like you are not getting anywhere in life, so you can accept and recognize that it wasn't for your highest good and that you are trying to force an outcome that isn't aligned. And the quicker we take that time to grieve, get angry, cry for days, scream, do whatever it takes, the sooner the dark nights of the soul come to a close. Trust it will eventually happen. Just accept this. The layers need to be shed. No judgment. She recalls her own journey and the countless nights of crying onto the earth to Mother Moon and resting on her ancestors' shoulders. She is standing strong, despite she is so desperate to go and hold him while he's in this state. Instead, asks God to send him all the strength and love across that divine cord. He collapses onto the floor. Is he finally realizing that he too is a light for these storms and finding the strength to choose love above anything as part of everything they have been through? The tears stop. He just sits there staring into the light, completely helpless. It's so beautiful. The strongest shoulders you'll ever see made even stronger for this release. I love you, she says under her breath, quiet enough that only she can hear and the angels that surround them. God, angels, please go and wrap your wings around him and keep him safe. I cannot bear to see him in so much pain. This pain that you see, he must have. It needs to be seen, heard, and released. This pain he has been ignoring for many years, and we can do nothing for him but stand with him to let him know that all will be okay, and it is time. For his purpose is much greater than he wants to accept right now, as is yours. You know firsthand this journey. Sometimes there are parts where you have to feel completely alone, to be reduced to remembering who was there for you from the beginning, to remember who you are and why you are here, to release your fear of being alone and altering the decisions you make because of this. The portal opens up. Vision becomes clear. She recognizes the hallway. It's from when they first met. He hugged her to calm the nerves that he could see she had, despite the fact she was acting as cool as a cucumber, always remaining in faith that he was going to turn up that night and she wouldn't be made to look like a fool in front of her friends. Yes, that hug felt like home. Yes, that felt like home. There could have been a natural disaster or World War III that you created happening, but we wouldn't have cared, because we beat the odds and found each other in this life. Exactly. And I know you want to go to him, but you understand you can send him love as you have through the cord that connects your heart. This is your version of allowing him to feel at home, connecting you, him, and me back as one. This is the strength and love he needs to feel safe right now. Why am I feeling like I want to close this connection off, God? I'm so exhausted. I finally find peace, and as I do, our telepathy just gets stronger. It's like a game of chess or cat and mouse. Why do you think that you hear him more when you're in peace, my angel? Because I'm in peace, and he wants nothing more than to be in a peace with me. Our souls are finally aligned because that connection gets stronger. Our direct line with you gets stronger. I am the moon, I am the one that works to control the emotions, and he also has elements in his DNA that are the moon, and I the sun. And if I can learn to heal and choose myself as to control my fear, as does he. It's in the stars. Remember what was written. I know that voice, as a light being with gold platinum clothing, a warrior of the divine. Goddess Isis appears, holding a piece of papyrus with one golden quill that has been embossed with two swans, the ink forming like a cord linking God, her, and him all as one. As quickly as the goddess of magic arrives, she disappears, acknowledging her guide's message. She starts to reach out her arms as far as they'll go, stretching her wings. If he is in fact there in the physical realm, any thought of this not being real would manifest into shattering the illusion. A mirage would form with a thirst to be recognized and then gone. Can it be now she can finally rest? That God believes that we are ready and it is a blessing? Is it finally time to dance with the dragons and join the pattern of the sun and the moon and trusting that each other know their part to play in creation? Earth and water, despite opposing each other on the scales of astrology. In fact, there is no way it should work. But there is an unshakable knowing that we are primed to be a powerful force, a passionate, magical force. New people now, and no longer depleted from the past, only looking in the same direction as learned scholars. His aura. It's glowing bright white. It is so different now. No more murkiness. Pure like a new bud. A true phallic symbol of the hopefulness and spring waiting to usher in a new chapter. This bud will always wait for divine timing to blossom into the most beautiful photograph. It appears as if there's no branches and the flowers are floating in midair because you are so mesmerized by this explosion of color from a bleak winterscape. And then there's that smell of freshness of the spring rain. Cherry blossoms, apple blossoms, all blossoms, including new love. The ground, too, springing into life like a magic carpet from a fantasy book. Underfoot, the crocus, the primrose on the forest floor, and the water lilies, resting so delicately on the pond, creating a shelter for the tadpoles to give them the best chance from the herons that rest on the riverbanks, which are too under the shelter from the blossoms of the trees. The spring flowers know that they need to give it all in the day, for when the moon is high in the sky, it is their final curtain to rest before the encore the next day. Nature becomes a guide, a mirror, don't you think? She whispers loud enough to see if he can hear her. For if he responds, then he is on the same frequency and therefore a step closer. Yes, he says, and I'm ready to listen and be a good student, for now I know you can teach me to hear her messages clearer, and we can get lost in the book of the wisdom of the trees. A huge smile forms over her face. He is real, well, at least for this moment, but still, I will wait to touch that skin. I will hold back and allow us to get to know each other again. I am in surrender like the animals in the landscapes during the winter solstice, aware that in any moment it can turn into the harshest conditions, and as long as you're prepared, everything is okay. The flowers really get to show off what they've been working on over the winter, don't they? It's like they don't even need a dress rehearsal. They're there to shine. This all under sun and moon, carrying on their agreement and working perfectly in sync, enabling the creatures and land to strengthen its survival skills, whilst preparing them to grieve any of the loss of anything that is lost, but knowing that it'll carry on with the circle of life held by the arms of Grandmother Earth. She always knows what's best for us, a hawthorn bush said out loud. Always, her children joined in. We both stood there in awe with this vision in front to see and know all the preparation for the most incredible art exhibition known to the universe, entitled Allowing the New Rejuvenation of a Love Blessed by God and the Pagan Lines. Bravely, whispering louder this time, it appears no one seems jealous in the spring. Do you think that's because they're all rested and get a chance to shine? Yes, my love, he says, but there isn't a canvas more beautiful than seeing your eyes in this light, the way that they sparkle with the thoughts of dancing amongst that fallen confetti of the blossom, and your smile, that image that stays in my heart and keeps me awake at night, and no matter how hard I try and shut you out, it distracts me in the day. It is a smile when I see you talking to the animals and the trees and know that they respond, for your essence, your energy is the rebirth cycle for me. It reminds me to have that childlike wonder and believe in magic all over again. Smiling even wider with tears in her eyes, but saying nothing, because nothing needed to be said in this moment. For this was a moment to be appreciating each other and hearing a heartbeat rapidly in sync with the silence. There was a faint voice forming the vital question in the minds. So, God, is this our time now? Are we both allowed to rest in each other's arms and remember that first time we held each other? That first kiss when it felt like time stopped and that it was just us on Earth? He turned, facing the empty slats on the side of the stage, calls her to stand next to him. He knows his divine lover is there, despite not being seen. He knows how nervous she is to come to the same light and space, and honestly, he wouldn't blame her if she completely ignored his request. But he would keep trying because he wants to prove himself, for she deserves nothing but the best version of him, and that is what he's been working on. Slowly, she walks towards him, gesturing him to sit. Side by side, kneeling with their backs straight, connecting earth to sky, she opens a portal in front. There is a desert. It's dry and needs water. Speaking her commands into the sky, all of a sudden there is rain, a rain that starts to fall with such an incredible result of transformation of a lush oasis. Like the deserts miss the rain, she whispers. Like the deserts miss the rain, he repeats. They sit and watch another image of sands of time falling through the hourglass of infinity. It's on a wheel, so that once it ends, it creates a difference in balance and the sand will flip to start all over again, almost showing them how many chances they've had to get this right. He reaches out his hand. She closes the portal and looks him deep into the eyes. Those eyes, they're just like she remembers them. Despite the fact that last time he couldn't look in hers, ashamed and knowing that only his divine feminine would be able to see through the bravado he'd created as his armor. Those eyes, 3 colors with a pattern that creates a perfectly unique blend, just like him. Desperate to reach out, to touch him, for in this moment he seems so real. Holding her knees close to her heart, she says, I guess we let God take it from here and wait patiently. Deciding that is not the time to shatter this illusion, for if he is just a hologram that has appeared because he's more aligned now, then she's okay with that. Maybe it is a reminder to keep the faith. For when the time comes, there will be no tricks or doubt. It will be safe to touch him, hold him, for he would not be sent back to her to walk by his queen if he was not ready to be who she knows him to be. For he will be sent back when he is ready to take his throne, her hand, and not a moment before. She fades back to stage left. He's still staring into the light. By now, the sun has reached above the trees, defrosting the heaviness of snow that has topped the spruce branches. The silver birch sending messages of nature's dots and dashes, saying the winds of change, be prepared. That's right, Father Sun. You shine. You shine like the shift depends on it to the new earth. You've got this. I love you for all that you do. Always worth the wait.